For me, Fallout Season 1, despite its plethora of retcons, was actually pretty enjoyable. Hell, I even helped pay for Todd Howard's private island by buying this heckin' wholesome shirt from Universal, a decision which I now deeply regret. You see, at first, I was naively optimistic for what Fallout Season 2 had in store. After 15 years, we'd finally get a new piece of New Vegas content. Not only that, but it seems like they're going for the objectively coolest ending for this game. Well, it only took about 5 minutes into the first episode for my expectations to be completely shit on. Mr. House has now been flanderized into a psychopath who vents his trauma of growing up with Skibbity Toilet by rage-baiting blue-collar workers so he can blow up their brains. But oh, it only gets worse. The NCR, a nation that had its presence everywhere, is now having an identity crisis whether it still exists or not. The Strip is now destroyed and inhabited by Enclave Deathclaws, apparently from Quarry Junction. I thought I took care of that. And the Legion has now fallen into civil war because they can't retrieve a corpse after 15 years. So, what the hell happened? Unless Courier 6 canonically ate shit that fateful night, or spent his entire playthrough taking it up the rear by Fisto, there's no reason Vegas should resemble Iraq this closely in only 15 years. And yes, 15 years is a short amount of time in Fallout, considering much of the wasteland still looks like this after 200. A lot of people say that all this poor representation of factions is because Todd Howard secretly hates Obsidian. When New Vegas released, he manipulated fate in order to give it an 84% on Metacritic. Then he ordered a tenth of the development team be killed by the other 9/10. No, in reality, the answer is quite simpler than that. Chris Avallone, an interesting former Fallout dev who worked pretty prominently on 2 in New Vegas, summed it up quite well. Bethesda doesn't hate Fallout. They don't hate New Vegas. They just don't get it.
I don't get it.
Now, don't get me wrong, just like the last season, I don't think this is necessarily a bad show, and it definitely has its moments in both writing and even occasionally fan service. But it's even more clear now than before that Bethesda simply doesn't understand what made this setting so special.
So I need you to go get me the platinum chip. I don't really know what it does, but I just know that you need to go get it.
Mr. House in the Fallout TV show is a questionable interpretation of his character.
This nigga's a homosexual.
I've seen a lot of frankly bad arguments and posts going around singing the praises of House's behavior, saying things along the lines of, "Heh, this pleb really fell for Mr. House's manipulation in New Vegas. He was clearly always like this."
So you were always like this?
Look, Mr. House is not a great person, and if you blindly trust a billionaire with being an autocratic ruler, you probably shouldn't be able to vote. He has a fountain of constantly flowing clean water while people right outside his gate have to fight for water from Elvis impersonators. There's thousands of ways to show Mr. House being evil, but of course the Fallout show, with the subtlety of a fucking tank, decides to show it with him egging on some blue-collar workers to fight him, asking to be punched in the face like he's the fucking Joker, mind-controlling one to kill the others, and then accidentally blowing him up. Mr. House is not a psychopath. He doesn't enjoy bloodshed, he's never been shown to. He's somebody who uses his deal-making skills first, and then uses violence when it's only absolutely necessary. He mocks you when you try and revel in your revenge against Benny.
Sorry to deny you a moment of primate triumph, but you'll have to go elsewhere to sound your barbaric yawp.
He chooses to first evict the Kings when they side with the NCR in the Battle of Hoover Dam, only killing them once they refuse to leave. And lastly, the only faction he actually has you destroy in the entire game is the Brotherhood of Steel, which he honestly makes a pretty good point for. This opening scene of House is especially annoying because every other scene with him after is actually pretty decent. Dare I say, even good. And to give the show some credit, even though they overdid his cruelty, Mr. House is still definitely the type of guy to explore such a groundbreaking technology like mind control and pawn it off for a profit. Maybe he wouldn't test it in a back alley, but nonetheless, he'd definitely look into it. I mean, it's not like Mr. House has ever directly voiced his opinion against slavery and what repercussions that might have on mankind.
Slavery! The future of mankind!
kind. What have you done?
Oh. And before you ask, he does back up his words fairly well with his actions. He allows the courier to deal with his problems in any way they see fit. After the Battle of Hoover Dam, he ignores the majority of towns and factions to their own devices, apart from spying on Goodsprings. And lastly, he allows the casinos on the Strip to operate totally independently, which is actually something that bites him in the ass. Speaking of the Strip, what the hell happened? The Strip was such an interesting location, not only because of its preserved state, but it was a location where much of the battling was diplomatic rather than traditional combat like at Hoover Dam. Now, it's just the same as every other ruin that's fought over. Anyways, unsurprisingly, we find out inside the abandoned Lucky 38 that Mr. House has been disconnected.
Hey, disconnected!
Which he confirms was due to his death. But don't worry, because the Cold Fusion MacGuffin activates an AI copy of him. I have my opinions on the whole AI house thing, but it'll make more sense if I bring them up later. Overall, the treatment of Mr. House is dissatisfying because it largely invalidates him as being a good ending for the future of the Mojave. I know I was joking earlier about blindly trusting Mr. House, but that's not to say someone couldn't acknowledge his flaws and still make a good argument on why he'd be the best ruler. That's what makes this game so great. Every single faction, except one,
women are physically and intellectually inferior to men,
has a good amount of flaws and benefits that has led to continued debate for 10 plus years over who should prevail. Now, with the Mr. House files being released, it's safe to say that I would definitely not trust someone like this with the future of the Mojave, which makes discussions around this game that much more boring now. While the NCR's depiction this season was certainly better than the glorified Raiders of Season 1,
that shit's ass, bro.
It still doesn't really add up. We get a flashback to Shitty Sands post-relocation, and I'll say it is actually pretty cool to see a genuine post-apocalyptic city for once. I don't know why there's still ruined cars on the road to the capital, and I'd prefer if they kept the whole Adobe thing going on like the earlier Fallout games, but I don't think anyone who worked on this show has actually played them. Now, I just assume this place got nuked by some Vault-Tec missile Lonesome Road style in Season 1, but nope, turns out some caravaner made it all the way to Shitty Sands with a literal nuke strapped to his cargo. I don't care how much the NCR was in collapse by this point, this is something that would have never happened with all the checkpoints we know they have set up. But don't worry, New Vegas bros, he's saying the funny line.
Almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.
Now, this show has used much of its runtime trying to really hammer in the point that the NCR is dead, with the ghouls spending much of this season asking where the hell is the NCR, and discovering their hideouts either in a pathetic state,
We're winning the war.
or completely abandoned, which is why it's all the more strange that in the final episode they decided to pull an endgame and show up out of nowhere. Are they really back, or is this just supposed to be another remnant group? Don't get me wrong, I like the fan service and it makes sense logically that they're still around, but if they truly do still exist, then why has this entire nation had zero presence up to this point? Have they been fooling the entire wasteland for the past 15 years? Or did the writers just want to have a cool endgame moment that they're actually still alive? I guess since Amazon blueballed us, we'll have to wait another year to see what state the NCR is actually supposed to be in.
Fans of the Legion are the Tyler Durdens. Primal, masculine, isolation, violence, mental illness.
Go and get a job!
The Legion has, unfortunately, become one of the biggest victims of this show's flanderization. What made this faction so scary wasn't just the fact they brutalized innocent people. Plenty of other groups do the same exact thing and they just feel like edgy pushovers. What made the Legion so genuinely terrifying was their efficiency. They commit atrocities as far as California, irradiate entire NCR camps, and have a seemingly omnipresent network of spies. Unfortunately, this group has now been played down to a bunch of idiots who can't figure out how to retrieve a name written on a corpse after 15 years. Don't get me wrong, a civil war breaking out after Caesar's death makes sense, but the way it's done doesn't. These bases are literally in an ejaculation's distance from each other. The Legion had intelligent people other than Caesar. Maybe they wouldn't make for the greatest subsequent rulers, but I doubt they'd ever let it fall to a situation as ridiculous as this. We unfortunately don't actually get to see any of these previous characters though, apart from Caesar's corpse at least. Instead, we get 5'7" Legate Macaulay Culkin. I think the 3 bowling ball height difference between him and the previous Legate is supposed to be EFOC or something, but the humor is lost on me. Just have him play somebody else, like why couldn't he have just been Volpez? If it wasn't enough for the Legion to be more stupid, they're also weirdly more cruel, because apparently they eat people now. Come on, the only meat these guys are swallowing is each other's.
The soldiers mount each other as much as they mount their women?
While all the stuff I've mentioned already is pretty bad, the worst decision for this faction comes in the final episode. We finally get to see the note that Caesar had on his corpse for the Legion successor. I wonder, out of all the potential candidates, who it could be. What? Is he stupid? Well, a little bit, but still, he isn't this fucking dumb. The cult of personality that is the Legion was going to collapse past Caesar's death. This is a point that is reverberated by just about every important NPC in this game. Everyone except the Big C, that is. Does he have an elevated ego? Of course, but he clearly wanted to build a genuine society. We're literally told directly that he has a succession plan lined up.
Intel we had back in the NCR said they had a whole succession lined up.
Yeah, I guess you could kinda explain some of this by saying it was due to his brain tumor, but come on, that is the laziest way to write shit. Yeah, this character was going super crazy fucking bonkers. That's why a succession note goes against everything he set up and basically says get fucked, Lamau. Overall, it's unfortunate that the Legion got this treatment, but at the same time, it's to be suspected. They're kind of one of the easiest factions to flanderize at just being misogynistic raiders.
It's you! It's you!
Yeah. Well, yes, kind of.
How could you, man?
The amount of disarray seen currently in the Mojave seems to be because the show wanted to go with a fog of war approach. Basically, instead of clearly canonizing any of the endings, you fuck everything up in an ambiguous enough way to where anything could have happened. Not only did they fail at successfully doing this, but this approach is fucking stupid. Even the RPG-heavy Interplay games knew they had to canonize the story of their previous protagonist. Yeah, it sucks, but if you don't, you risk making all the players' work have been for nothing. Sure, now the Courier is sort of the most ambiguous protagonist out of any of the games, but at what cost? Any ending you go with will leave the Mojave a total shit show in 15 years anyways. Decided to kill Mr. House? Sorry pal, the Enclave actually had his reboot card that activates House GPT. Decided to help out Novak for the future? Well, turns out the Great Khans are there now, for some reason. There's a piece of dialogue that the bartender of the Atomic Wrangler gives that is so incredibly stupid and really puts into perspective the futility of the Courier's actions.
Just another fucking round of changing management, that's all it is. Like one of the merry-go-rounds. NCR Legion, NCR Legion. Fucking robots. As long as they don't come around and charge me taxes, I don't give a fuck.
So, turns out the Courier decided the victor of just one of what must have been dozens of changes in management in the Mojave. With the season finale basically putting everything back to square one with a weakened NCR and Legion fighting while Mr. House is cozy in a ruined strip, I have to ask, what was even the point of New Vegas or Courier 6 in the first place? You know, as much as this destruction and nihilistic lack of progress for the franchise sucks, it's not even really the worst part about this show. You know who else wanted to destroy every faction before Todd Howard made it cool? Former developer Chris fucking Avallone. He was the project director for Dead Money, Old World Blues, and Lonesome Road, introducing apocalyptic threats like the Red Cloud, the Think Tank, the Tunnelers, and the Hopeville nuclear missiles. I mean, this dude made an entire DLC around a place that was nuked, started to rebuild, and then got nuked again. Seem familiar? Basically, he really wanted to wipe the slate clean. Now, I'm not saying I fully agree with Avallone's mentality.
Nuke the whole generation.
But I have to give him credit. Unlike anyone at Bethesda or on the show, he's able to make it actually interesting. Characters like Father Elijah and Ulysses, some of the biggest proponents for wiping the slate clean, are some of the best characters in a game filled with amazing characters. My problem with this show is that all this destruction wasn't done in an interesting way. Instead of the NCR falling to its overexpansion or an interesting new character or faction, it was off-screened by an Enclave agent who somehow snuck a nuke in. Instead of the strip being occupied by the tunnelers from underground or some new kind of threat, it's conquered by Enclave Deathclaws. It seems like Bethesda's Fallout can't even destroy factions and locations correctly. Instead of us getting any new big bad for the series, guess what? We get the Enclave, once again. For what is it now, the 4th time? How many presidents do these guys have? So that's it. What do you think? Are New Vegas fans just unsatiable crybabies, or do all Bethesda fans deserve to be crucified? Let me know. Thank you for making it this far. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.